Hi, my name's Ellie. Thanks for joining me today. This is part of a 6-video series on how to spot language manipulations that are designed to curate your perceptions about the world. In the last episode, we talked about how a person's character is framed by the manipulation of words so that it actually convinces you of who they are without you really knowing who they are. Everyone has good and bad elements, but sometimes the words are manipulated and the things that we see and we hear that make us believe that a person is a lot closer to the bad side of the spectrum or a lot closer to the good side of the spectrum than they probably really are, because everyone really sits in the middle somewhere, and the rest of it is all about how they're portrayed by others. So today we're going to be talking about another style of manipulation of words. And this is called proximity triggering. It's about convincing you that a danger exists and that it's on your doorstep and it could get you at any moment. This is the way that it works. Language that makes a threat feel really close to home, even if it's not as close as it appears to be, well, it's a bit like that rear view mirror on the side of your car that has little notes saying, objects may appear closer than they actually are. It's exactly the same thing. It plays on our survival instinct. If danger is really nearby and we feel that it's really nearby, that means we have to act right now. It kind of puts us into emergency mode. And that's really cruel, because often the messages that we're getting are about dangers that aren't really as close to us as we might think. A news story, for example, might say something like, this new crime wave could be happening in your neighborhood. Well, have you heard that there's a word in there that makes all the difference? Could. This new crime wave could be happening in your neighborhood. It doesn't mean that it is happening in your neighborhood. It's that someone's imagination has imagined it happening in your neighborhood for the purposes of selling newspapers or as clickbait or something like that. The actual data, when you go into the report that they're citing, may show that it's a really rare occurrence, this new crime wave. It could be really obscure, or it might even be really far away. But the phrasing makes it feel very personal. And that's what this proximity triggering is all about. It's all about making things that aren't really related directly to you feel very personal. So this is how you can resist this type of manipulation of words. Firstly, get to recognize the difference between emotional closeness and actual closeness. Emotional closeness is when you feel connected to something. Actual closeness is when you are physically present to the event. Remember that proximity triggering is targeting your emotional connection to the event rather than your actual closeness to the event. So just realizing this point could help to keep your emotions from elevating to a level that goes beyond that which is required for the situation. When you keep your emotions based on what's actually physically affecting you now, it helps you to be able to better determine how it affects you personally and what your choices are in being able to deal with any related situation. When your emotions have been elevated because you feel an emotional closeness to the situation, it can skew your ability to be able to determine how to respond. If you notice the difference between the emotion and the actual closeness, it just helps you to stop for a moment to put your activation or your plan or your sense of where you sit in that into the correct perspective. And then you do what's right for you based on that. Everyone is getting really anxious lately. There's a lot of anxiety flying around. And the reason for that is because everyone feels threatened by something. Everyone is starting to feel threatened. And the reason for that is because of the manipulation of words. Everything feels imminent. Everything is being described as an emergency, and people are all thinking about their own sense of mortality, their own danger, their own vulnerabilities, which are all different because lots of people have different types of things to worry about. And because the words are being manipulated to make everything seem really imminent, it's causing a tremendous amount of anxiety everywhere you go. Just like that warning on the rear view mirror. Threats may appear closer than they actually are, and it's the same when it comes to the news. Often the threats aren't quite as near as they sound, they aren't quite as immediate as they sound, and just being able to understand that helps us to get perspective. I want to show you something that I think will be helpful. I have found some really dramatic headlines on a wide variety of topics that turned out to be far less interesting once you read the article. This is news from just over the past few days, okay, and it comes from all over the place. I have quite a few here, and the reason why I've got so many is I want to show you just how much is happening. So I'm going to put a headline up on the screen, and then I'm going to explain what it's actually about. Deadly superbug sweeping the nation. No, it was one hospital event, and that's it. Now it's over. Massive asteroid to hit Earth this week. That came out of the New York Post. Okay, so we can't be surprised, can we? But the reality, when you read the report, NASA has reported that the asteroid in question is going to pass the Earth from millions of miles away. So there's no risk to Earth at all. Toxic cloud blankets city. Well, when you read the article, it actually says that the incident was a minor industrial leak that was quickly contained, and there was no widespread health impact at all. Shark invasion along popular beaches. Okay, when you read the report, it's actually talking about 2 sharks that were spotted in the usual place at the usual time of the year for sharks. Killer heat wave grips the country. Okay, when you read the article, it's actually saying that temperatures were slightly above average, but well below historical extremes. And the killer bit is just sort of made up. Mystery illness spreading fast. Well, this one relates to a single school district of norovirus. Airport chaos leaves thousands stranded. Okay, the reality when you read the report is that it was one terminal that experienced delays for a few hours. And that's it. Deadly spider infestation in suburb. All right. Are you sitting down? Because this one's a big one. Yeah. There was a few spiders that were actually found inside one home. I can't believe they actually wrote this story. It was one home and just a few spiders. You know, this is Australia. There's deadly spiders everywhere. I don't know why it made the newspaper, but anyway. Food prices set to double overnight. In the actual report, though, it says that analysts have predicted gradual increases over the course of months, not overnight. Radiation leak threatens millions. Well, when you read the report, the reality is that the leak was contained within a single facility and there was no measurable public exposure at all. Mass panic after social media blackout. Okay, in reality, the report says that the outage lasted under 2 hours and the mass panic was based on a handful of viral posts on the internet. Deadly storm to devastate coast. When you look at the actual article, the storm dissipated before it even hit land and there was little to no damage reported. Zombie drug turning users into monsters. So when you read the actual report, it says that this was related to a street drug in which some of the side effects were reported and there were no reports of any violence. So I don't know how the monsters appeared in this, but there you go. School under siege. But when you read the article, it turns out a threat was called in by phone and the police attended as a precaution. There was no siege. Ocean dead zone expanding uncontrollably. But the reality is the area of growth was seasonal and reversible, and the uncontrollably claim in the headline ignored the fact that it's a cyclical thing. And so it comes every year and it goes every year. Deadly sinkhole swallows neighborhood. I have to say this one made me laugh. Deadly sinkhole swallows neighborhood in the Telegraph. The reality is it was a small sinkhole that was under a garden shed. And that's it. Cancer breakthrough will save millions. It actually relates to early stage lab research over the course of years that will eventually, in a few years' time perhaps, involve clinical use, and also it's unlikely to help millions of people. It's a very specific small thing. City on brink of blackout. Okay, when you read the article, in actuality, a utility company reported that during peak times there might be a small risk of power shortages. Deadly bacteria found in tap water. All right, so it's misleading because in reality, trace amounts of a toxin were found in the water, but less than what we would breathe on a normal day in the city. The water was still safe to drink. Mass exodus from the capital. You're not going to believe this. This was actually talking about weekend holiday travel. There you go. I think that in today's world where people are throwing all kinds of BS at us, it's really important to be able to know what is really going on and to form our perspective and our opinion based on lots of different sources where we can see for ourselves. And that's something that I think Ground News is really good. You can subscribe to your favorite geeky subject. You can subscribe to your politics, to your international current affairs. You can look at all kinds of things that interest you, sport if you like, weather, whatever. My affiliate link, I think, still has 40% off the Vantage plan, which I think now is $5 a month. So support the channel and support your own ability to think critically by looking at lots of sources, by subscribing to Ground News. Just because someone says that something is urgent or that it's an emergency or that it's crucial doesn't mean that it's urgent or an emergency or crucial for you. It doesn't mean that it's crucial for you. Remember how many times you've received a phone message in your life from someone who says, call me now, it's really important. And when you called them, you found out it was important for them, but it wasn't important for you. And chances are it's important for them because they benefit from your quick response. In the world of news, it's urgent or important for them because they might make money from it. They might make a name for themselves. They may appear to be an expert. They may get the attention on themselves, that kind of thing. It doesn't mean that it's important or urgent or crucial for you. The less anxiety that you allow into your brain on a day-to-day basis, the better you will be able to focus on the things that really do affect you personally so that you can plan and move forward in a positive way. If you enjoyed today's episode and you feel like you learned something, then you might also enjoy my previous episode, which is about the manipulation of words that make you believe you know a person when the truth is that you really don't. In the next episode of this series, which may not happen concurrently, I might do it a bit here and a bit there, but in the next episode we're going to be looking at the way words are used to manipulate us by packaging half-truths and presenting them as the whole truth. And this one happens absolutely everywhere. So I hope you'll join me then. Welcome to the new world. This is Ellie Dreams and Under. I love knowing you're here, and I'll see you in my dreams.